What's up, y'all? Welcome to Brews and Reviews, and today I'm reviewing Nas's new album, King's Disease, and I am sipping on a Full Sail Amber from Hod River, Oregon. That's coming in at 6%, an amber beer, one of my favorite craft beers, so let's listen to one of my favorite crafty MCs. So it's the return of the GOAT, Nasty Nas. This man needs no introduction. He has at least one album on every true hip-hop head's top 10 of all time, and that album, of course, is Illmatic, and in some cases, he has 3 albums on people's top 10 of all time, which would include It Was Written and Stillmatic in that group. King's Disease is his follow-up to the very uneven project from last year, Lost Tapes 2, and his 2018 collaboration with Kanye West, the incomplete Nasir. The whole album was produced by Hit Boy, which is kind of a surprise. I think a lot of us older heads, if we knew that Nas was going to be produced by one producer, we would have preferred Pete Rock, or even better yet, DJ Premier. But hey, Hit Boy has a solid resume, so it's something to still get excited about. Among his many notable songs are Paris by Jay-Z and Kanye, One Train by A$AP Rocky, and Backseat Freestyle by K-Dot. The first track is a title track. It's also called King's Disease, and it starts off very soulful. It's got a soul sample over some very light percussion, and Nas puts his smooth flow on display immediately. And I'm gonna say this now so I don't forget, but Nas has the perfect rap voice. I've always thought this. I've thought that since the 90s, and I think a lot of DJs agree. If you tracked which rapper was the most cut up and sampled by various DJs on scratches, I think Nas would probably be number one. Nas says a lot in this short, hookless track where he's basically talking about the hate that you receive when you're on top, and I think that lends itself to the theme, and he sets up the theme of the album King's Disease, while he makes his case for his accomplishments and what he's achieved to be recognized as royalty, and he talks about when you suffer these hardships that kings often suffer, that you gotta handle them yourself, and that's the King's Disease. He's also saying that if you're a king, like he is, he's rap royalty, that hardships will come your way, there will be hate, but if you're a true king, you gotta handle it yourself. And I think this is a really good intro to set the tone for the content of the album. Blue Benz, I love this beat by Hit Boy. Hit Boy starts off really strong to make his case for why he should be producing an entire Nas project. He has several different elements on this with some nice vocal chorus samples, an open hi-hat on the drums, and a nice piano loop, and he also makes the beat switch. Nas displays one of his best flows on the entire album on this particular track, and he also samples the great movie Belly, starring Nas, that was directed by Hype Williams, one of the GOAT hip-hop video producers of the 90s. In this case, Blue Benz seems to symbolize the excess that can come with success, especially when Nas, forever the storyteller, kicks lines like, "Crazy, I knew this chick, she had a blue Benz. A Jersey penthouse, she used to pimp girls that would turn rich men out. Her coke habits was so savage, she hear voices and see ghosts on the average." And immediately we understand that this may be part of the King's Disease, the pursuit of material things like Benzes, sex that rich people can buy, and expensive drugs that completely turn them out and send them on a path of darkness. Car 85, we can tell from the beginning, this is going to be a little more poppy than the previous track. There's a flute loop played backwards that's kind of annoying, and where Hit Boy won us over on the previous track, this one, it doesn't do much for his cause. Nas's content is good on here, but the flow and delivery is a little bit beneath him. Lyrically, he's reminiscing on some good thoughts and some good memories that he had from when he was young, and it is interesting that he's talking talking about this run-down cab car, this specific one that he used to call to run about the town and do various things around town. And this is juxtaposition with the previous track that was about owning your own car and your own luxury car at that. Ultra Black is the first single, and it sounds like a single. Nas says that the beat by Hit Boy is supposed to slap on the chorus, and that's not necessarily the way I would describe this particular beat. While I do like the beat and there are some unique sounds on the chorus, it's not what I would in particular call a banger. When I think of a banger single for Nas, I think of something like Made You Look or Nas Is Like, and this particular track is nowhere near those songs. However, Nas does come correct with the lyrics on this track. He says, "Sometimes I'm over black, even my clothes are black. Cash money with the white tee and the soldier rag. We going ultra black, unapologetically black. The opposite of Doja Cat, Michael Blackson black." That last line is a little controversial, I guess. There was definitely a lot of talk about that line when this song first dropped last week, but I think it's something that needed to be said, and I'm glad Nas was the one to do it. And this is a bit of a double entendre in sorts, because not only is he talking about Doja Cat's light skin, but of course he's talking about the scandal that she got into having participated in white supremacist chat rooms. 27 Summers, this beat brings it back a little bit, and so far I'm realizing on the album, Hit Boy is a little bit like every other song he hits. Hit Boy does the beat switch well. I've heard that from him in the past, long before this project, and this particular song has it as he adds multiple elements as the song goes on. But still, in a way, this song feels incomplete, and now I realize on this album it goes back to some of the complaints that I had about Nasir. It just doesn't feel complete. This is a little too short. I don't know why they chose to only have one verse on a beat and subject matter this strong, and to not have any chorus at all, and you would just like to see this fleshed out a little bit more. Nas does have some good lyrics though. He's talking about what he's achieved at this point in his career, and he pulls it back to the 27 summers that it's been since his debut with Illmatic, and back then going 27 summers in the future wasn't the goal, and I'm sure that young Nas never thought that he would be spitting at the age of 46, so that's what he's reflecting on now. The next song is Replace Me, and the ghost of You Owe Me is rearing its ugly head on this song. I don't know why Nas insists on making this kind of track. He's a grimy street poet, and I'm all for variety, but think of somebody like Method Man that can do the grimy love song well, and then we have Nas that does not do this love song pop shit well. Let it go, Nas. Do not give us tracks like this anymore. Big Sean also doesn't help this love pop song at all, as he comes in with a weak verse. Til the War is One goes very introspective, and it's largely drumless to accentuate the lyric. And it was almost inevitable that Nas would drop a track like this after his ex accused him of domestic violence, and I'm proud of him that he came with this subject matter praising women. The song completely denounces violence against women, and you can tell from Nas's lyrics that he's a real one, and this is straight from his heart. He's not only sympathetic to the plight of women, but he is admiring their strength, with lines like, "Single mothers, my heart's bleeding for you. These coward men, they were beaten on you. Never me. Let's silence them with a silencer for the violence of relationships. Hold your head up. Don't take that shit. Run away from it." Say what you will about Nas, and whatever side you fall on in believing his perspective of his marriage or his ex-wife's perspective of his marriage, there's not many male rappers out there that are coming with this kind of heart and emotion and real perspective on the issue of domestic violence and praise for women. All Bad featuring Anderson .Paak, one of the greatest hip-hop features in our times. When Paak is on a song, it's almost always fire. However, this is a bit of a different style for him on a feature track. We don't usually hear the more subdued, more toned down Anderson. We usually hear him on tracks that are straight up hype, but I still like this one. Lyrically, Nas is talking about a relationship that went bad. Quick. He says, "It's a lottery, it's loaded. Hope I can see all the motives. Before she make a fool out of me, I should know 'cause I'm older. Wasn't meant for me, fuck it, we ain't agree on the subject. We look good together when we was out in the public." With those lines, some are speculating that this is about Nicki Minaj, that she was calculating using a goat to increase her clout, and that the relationship was short-lived and that they looked good together in public. Nas doesn't explicitly say who it's about on this track. Definition, and there's so many songs that are just too short on this. This is a great track, great beat, great lyrics. In fact, some of Nas's most poignant lyrics on the entire album. And this is not really like Nas to make a bunch of 2-minute songs. This one, again, isn't developed. It's just one verse, and I would have liked to hear more on this subject. Some of his more lyrically astute lines, he says, "I'm talking the law for me, freedom is illegal. Tape telephone conversations, what kind of nation? Got 300 million people they investigating. I know they're trying to watch me, a Russian oligarchy." In the short track, he also addresses a completely different subject, back to the subject of his ex's claims against him, when he says, "Scorned women want to slump me to fade me to dark. King's disease, I cure this shit with my art." I love that line. I always love when a rapper pulls everything together with a specific line. Usually you'll hear something like that at the end of a concept album, but he keeps the concept running throughout this project, and I like what he says there, that he's going to cure this hate for him by doing what he loves. Full Circle featuring The Firm. And looking at the track list before this album dropped, this is the song that I was the most hyped for, the most excited about. Why? Because it features The Firm. And no, I didn't like the first Firm album, but you know what I did dig? I digged Affirmative Action. That track was straight up fire. And also, I dig Cormega's solo albums. I dig AZ's solo albums. And both of those dudes can spit. Cormega in particular is still holding it down in these modern times. So I was excited to hear what they could bring to this track. But the beat? This is a weird choice to go with a slowed down track. We want to hear some fire for these MCs to get back together and have their reunion on. The first album was overseen by Dr. Dre. Affirmative Action was one of the best beats of all time. So why are we slowing it down and going with something more subtle for this classic reunion? Though that being said, it does have a thick bass line and there is some redeeming value to this track. The three guys on the track are talking about various women that they've known, and AZ in particular wins the song, and he has some good lines when he says, "When you enamored by female companions, there's no standards. Once you hit and it switched the dynamics, that's the damage. Reflecting on first impressions, what's she expecting? Why when men don't follow directions, it's deception." Now that verse really makes me miss AZ's flow. Cormega does come in a little bit disappointing because I've heard his recent shit and it's fire, but in his defense, this beat is a little bit awkward to flow over. Foxy, she does sound old in this track. She's been gone for a little while. She's been deaf, and it shows with her rustiness on the flow that she displays here. She doesn't even stick with the content on what the rest of the dudes were talking about on the song. The song as a whole, it is nice for nostalgia, but it's a weird choice on the beat and subject matter for the song. There's a cool cameo by Dr. Dre at the end, and why is he just at the end of this track speaking? Why did he not produce the track? Or at least let Hit Boy Ghost produce the track for him? It doesn't make sense. 10 Points is the next track, and this is a nice beat with some horns on it, and this is one of Nas's most structured songs on the album, and he does spit some good lyrics as well. He says, Queen, gotta learn and let it go and move forward. King, you should learn to say no, keep all your dough in. King, Michael Jordan gives back and you didn't know it. Like LeBron does, but it's just seldomly shown. So he's drawing a parallel. He's talking about two of the kings of the game. Of course, King James, LeBron James, and Michael Jordan, one of the greatest to ever do it. Nas, widely respected as one of the best to ever do it in hip-hop, drawing that parallel and also saying that all of these dudes, as kings, including himself, give back to the community. It's a nice touch to throw in Jordan in particular because a lot of people have disrespect for Jordan and say that he doesn't really uplift the black community, but Nas is saying that he does shit you can't see, and that's just hate that's coming upon one of the greatest. Another example of the King's Disease, The Cure. I like this idea as this being the last official track before the bonus track, in that the content is going to display a cure for the King's Disease. Nas speaks on some realness, and again, he talks about women both as queens and as taking advantage of powerful men. He says, I came in this thinking you was gonna be this great thing, 'cause I seen the greats do it with the great queen. What these kings have in common, they had women who solid. Malcolm needed Betty. I met some queens who wasn't ready. This is one of the best beats on the album in the way that it fits Nas's flow, and it switches with each verse, especially on the third verse where the beat switches to get really reflective and Nas spits a stellar extended verse. And I almost wish that this was truly the last track on the album and they didn't have the bonus track, because I think this is one of his best verses, this is one of the best beats, and it ties up the theme nicely. Spicy, this almost should have been somewhere in the middle of the track because Hit Boy came with a hype beat. He leaves some space for these guys to spit to. This features Fivio Foreign, and this is his first high profile appearance after getting the XXL Freshman cover. And I don't know, if this were me and I had this kind of audience, I had a chance to impress Nas's audience, I might have came in with a little more fire, which he doesn't do here. However, his verse is adequate and it works, I guess. It's just not what we would expect from some young dude with a lot of hype around his name. I mean, it's not Nas on Large Professor's Live at the Barbecue, for example. A$AP Ferg comes in a little better and plays clean up to round out the whole album. Nas has been rated unfairly since his second album. Everybody expected him to repeat Illmatic like that was something that was easy to do. And I don't want to be the person that rates this album against Illmatic, one of the greatest albums of all time. But what is it fair to rate him against? Is this It Was Written or Stillmatic? No. Is this of the quality of God's Son or The Lost Tapes? No. Is this to the quality of Hip Hop Is Dead or Life Is Good? No. All of those are great albums to varying levels. We do expect too much from a GOAT, but regardless of expectations, this one just does not stand out. There's not really the one banger that's just going to stick with you. While Nas does go lyrically deep on a couple of the tracks, it's nowhere near what he's known to do on previous albums. So does King's Disease hurt Nas's legacy? No. That's solidified. And hey, this is still an enjoyable listen. But does it help or contribute to his legacy? Definitely not. This is a slightly above average effort in 2020. And for that, I'm going to give it a 7 out of a 12 pack. Thank you for watching my review of Nas's King's Disease. If you like this, go ahead and hit like now and drop me something in the comments. If you didn't like it, also tell me why in the comments. You can hit subscribe, which is popping up to my left. You can also watch some other videos, which are popping up to my right. I'd love to have you on my channel. I drop hip hop and hops related content consistently. So until I see you next time, keep buzzing.